Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session where we will discuss sales transformation with AI. I'm Marion Rousseau, this is April Delsing, and together we hope that this content will help you and help you go further with agentic sales. So in our time together, we'll go through 3 topics. First, we'll discuss the partner impact in sales transformation with AI, and we'll also include supporting programs and skilling. We'll also have learnings and best practices from our Partner of the Year, HSO. Then we'll have an overview of agentic sales and Microsoft's vision for it. We'll feature EY's agentic stories of their own sales transformation. And finally, we'll have a fireside chat with HCL Tech, learning about their work deploying the agentic sales CRM. So without further ado, let's talk about sales transformation with AI. There's a fantastic opportunity for partners to be driving this transformation. And the opportunity is huge. So you may have seen this slide before, but I love these numbers. The CRM space is $70.3 billion and growing at 12% year over year. For every $1 in licensing margin of Dynamics 365, there's $10 in services revenue for partners. And in addition to this, AI is driving real business process opportunities. In a 2025 study, we found that partners reported gross margin improvements, higher win rates, and increased advisory and solutions revenue with AI. In fact, half of respondents said that implementing AI-enabled tools is their top priority, and partners reported 10 to 15% higher win rate thanks to AI. And Microsoft is recognized as a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Salesforce automation platforms. You can see Salesforce is still leading, but we're right behind, and Gartner's research confirms our strong position in the market. Also, it's good to remember Gartner's research is independent, so their opinion reflects their expertise. And what does that mean for partners and the go-to-market solution play? So our win formula here is clear. For customers, we want to help them create AI-driven sales teams with increased win rates and productivity while reducing costs. And for partners, that's a unique opportunity to build a profitable sales practice focused on AI-driven transformation. So it's the moment for partners to become the AI transformation advisors to sales BDM and to IT stakeholders. And we have programs that support the sales journey to these effects. As you can see, in our Listen and Console stage, we have solution play assets such as pitch decks, conversation starters. We also have demand generation assets such as the campaign in the box that can be fully customized, and the Spark propensity list to activate on. In the Inspire and Design stage, we have the CRM envisioning workshop to leverage, as well as the CRM modernization program that is also supporting the Empower and Achieve stage. Now, to realize value, we have a free data migration tool, as well as eSIF that may be available depending on deal characteristics. We have Fast Track and the Deployment Success Program. And for the last stage, for Manage and Optimize, it's a good time to revisit the CRM envisioning workshop and the business process conversations that would have been had with the customer in the Inspire and Design stage. But with that, I will let April Delsing tell you more about these programs in more details.
Thank you, Marion. So I want to kind of focus on one of the first workshops that we have out there. So it's called the CRM Envisioning Workshop, and it is really to highlight the Microsoft's agentic capabilities as well as the CRM stack. It does focus on sales, service, contact center, customer insights, and more. So make sure that you're looking at this as a program to help facilitate your sales process. So the framework here is to ensure successful and consistent engagement delivery across 3 main phases. We have the assess, the art of the possible, and the build the plan. Feedback from FY25 from our partners that told us that they needed to have a little bit more flexibility in the structure, and so that's what we came out with FY26. So we're providing a lot more flexibility and allowing the partners to meet their customers where they're at in their journey. Make sure that you're downloading the latest kit because we are consistently refreshing that content, and then we're also linking out to new content on the GTM page. It is a co-investment. I want to make sure I highlight that. It is a co-investment. You can earn up to $6,000 per engagement. Okay, with CRM vision and value, really kind of setting that strategy, we want to kind of think about a CRM modernization program and how we can use this to move ideas from ideas to execution by leveraging the CRM modernization program. So it is designed to accelerate your deal velocity from pre-sales to implementation. And it is also there to help streamline the discovery process, reduce timelines, and reduce risk overall. So the reduction in that project cost, timeline that I mentioned is also there, but it's also giving you the opportunity to deliver agentic value for your customers. So the main call to action on this page I want to make sure that you're aware of is work with your Microsoft sellers on your deals to nominate them. So let's go a little bit deeper on this and talk about some of the program benefits. So with the goals of accelerating the deals, standardizing the discovery process and timelines, and proving better outcomes for your customers, the program offers strategic sales enablements, you'll see here, partner and technical support, as well as funding and incentives. So if you think about the strategic sales enablement, it gives you the opportunity to look at some RFP support or deal coaching, partner and technical support. You have some fast track support here in this stage. And then funding and incentives. So kind of like Marion talked about a little bit ago, there is some ESA funding available for some of our programs. But it definitely depends on benefits and based on deal size. But it definitely needs to be 100% seller nominated. Next, as we think about, okay, we've got the vision, we've got the strategy, we've got some programs in place, but let's talk about how we can really reduce that timeline and what does that cycle look like. So Microsoft is investing very heavily in AI tools to help from a pre-sales through implementation process. So previously, right, CRM modernization meant long workshops, longer migrations, and even longer paybacks. Now with the tools that we have available to you today, we're helping to reduce that. And one of the things that we want to highlight, and one of our speakers will kind of double click into that, is the DMT tool, the data migration tool. It is a free tool, and it provides comprehensive assessment as well as the migration support. So making sure that you're getting trained on these tools today and just stay engaged and staying up to date on what we have to offer. Okay, so next is our solution play partner skilling. I know probably many of you guys have seen this slide before, but holistic partner skilling, right, this is anchored around our specific solution play. So the skilling goals is really sales ready, tech deal ready, and project ready. So think of sales ready as being selling effectively. Tech deal ready is being able to win the deal with a technical credibility. And then project ready is delivering with confidence. So skilling is the foundation for achieving Microsoft specializations. This is where you can validate your skills and you can build that technical credibility. So we want to make sure that you're positioning your teams through these specializations to also be able to take advantage of our CRM envisioning workshops. So one main call to action on this slide I want to make sure that you're aware of is that we have recently released a new certification. It's called AB100, which is Agentic AI Business Solutions Architect. It's beta, it's a certification, and it's available now. So if you can take that into consideration, we'd appreciate that. Okay, so here's a list of some upcoming trainings that we do have available. So kind of like what I mentioned earlier, we have the DMT tool. We have some existing training, but there's going to be some updated training that's coming in Q3, which will have more of that agentic capabilities and features for the DMT tool. We also have some in-person and virtual boot camps coming up in Q3, Q4, but there's also some Copilot Studio, AI-powered business processes that you can take advantage of between now and the end of the year. Okay, so now I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, and I'm super excited to announce the Partner of the Year Award for Dynamics for Sales, and that is HSO. So if you guys could help me in welcoming Henk-Jan to the stage today from HSO. Thank you. Congratulations, Henk-Jan.
Thank you.
So Henk-Jan, I really want you to tell us a little bit about HSO, maybe a little bit more about your role, and thinking about from like an agentic perspective, how has HSO started to embrace AI, and even from like pre-sales through implementation?
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me and with rewarding us with this great award. So we're very proud of that. Yeah, so my name is Henk-Jan 𝗦𝗲𝗂𝗏. I'm a managing director within HSO, responsible for the CE business or CRM business. HSO's mission or goal is to help our customers improve their business results and their business outcomes. And our ambition is then to provide the best technology solutions for that. And when we want to talk about agentic capabilities later on, I think there is connecting that AI of connecting the business outcomes and the business results of our customers versus the technology solution, and being able to have that discussion with your customers, that's crucial. So on where the technology meets the business process, that is where the change is being made, I think also.
So can you tell us maybe a little bit more, or elaborate a little bit more on some of the levers, or maybe some of the Microsoft co-investments that you've been working on to help kind of lead you through that transformation?
Yeah. So what we do is, you talked about this envisioning and the flexibility, so thank you for that, because that's exactly what we did. So we blended the envisioning in what we call the discover. And what we do in the discover is what you would expect. So we look at the architecture, we look at the data, we look at the application landscape, but most of all, we look at the business processes of our customers, or when you talk about sales and customer insights, about the journeys, for example, or the sales motions, and what our customers want to improve in that. And what we use is these Envision workshops, but also the Microsoft Business Process Catalog, which is a good one, added our industry IP to that, and then have that discussion with the customer on how can AI really help. And what we did also to help our own consultants is we mapped the existing Microsoft agents and our own agents onto that business process. And that is, that allows us from the get-go to have that discussion with the customer to transform with AI, and not first do the old stuff, so to speak, and then bring in the agents, but really from the start. So that's what we do.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Henk, and I really appreciate your time. I don't know if, Marion, you have anything else to add to the question?
Thank you again, Henk-Jan, and congratulations again on this award. That's wonderful. We will now transition to the next section of this presentation, where we want to share the overview of Microsoft's vision for agentic sales. Please help me welcome our VP of AI Sales, Marketing, and Incubations, Julie Strauss. Hi, Julie.
Thank you.
Great to have you. We'd love to hear from you about the vision of Microsoft with this.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for having me. And welcome, everyone. The vision that we have in Microsoft across the engineering team and marketing is to really take what we think of as the full sales and marketing journey and transform it all the way from lead generation, starting with marketing, all the way to lead enrichment and deal close. And we want to do that through what we think of as a unified sales agentic experience. It doesn't mean it's one big agent. It just means we will keep developing agentic capabilities along a spectrum that ideally will allow companies to define which part of the journey they want agentic support with. And our goal is to not just enable that for Dynamics 365 sales, but also for the capabilities that we will light up inside Microsoft 365 Copilot. So you'll see us kind of blur the boundaries a little bit for kind of the product boundaries with where users actually live. And so this is what that can look like. These are examples of the jobs to be done that we know sellers work through, and where we already have or will be investing in agentic support. So you can imagine IT show up and say, here's all the jobs to be done from starting marketing to sales. And you can say, what part of this entire end-to-end journey, where do I want agentic support? And where should the experiences show? Should they show in Dynamics, which they will, but should they also show up, for example, in M365 Copilot? Because we do see the boundaries, the user experiences, where users live change even more. It's always been like that. Most sellers live in the Office suite. But still, that will even be blurred more as we move forward. So looking at that full journey, I wanted to give you examples of what we actually have in market today, as well as some new announcements we have made. So last month, October 21st, we had a little celebration moment where we reached some very tangible milestones in the era of AI, specifically for Dynamics 365 sales. we announced that we have general availability of the sales qualification agent. We put a new agent called Sales Close Agent to public preview, and we took the Sales Research Agent, which some of you might know as Project 𝗬𝗲𝗂, and made that available broadly within Dynamics 365 Sales as well. We also made a slight change to the business model where we added 1,000 Copilot credits per user to the premium license. Why did we do that? It is for all of you to help get your toes wet without having to think about how you go and purchase credits. So with this, we hope that you, as well as customers, can get started on the journey without having the business model being a barrier. And it's something that has been super well received, I would say. So peeling the layer a little bit on these capabilities, we have first the sales qualification agent. That is really about generating the pipeline. So you can define a section of leads, a slice of leads in your CRM system in Dynamics and say, I want agentic help to go research these leads, to do outreach. And you can define, do I want autonomous outreach? Do I feel confident that the agent can reach out and get engaged with my leads? Or do you just want the agent to prepare the outreach, but the seller reads and validates and hits send? So there are those kind of checkpoints along the journey for how autonomous you want these experiences to be. Then you can, obviously you give the agent access to your product catalog as well as to your ideal customer profile definition. That's really how we go ahead and qualify the leads and score the leads. Then you can decide, do you want to hand off to a seller when the lead is qualified? Or do you want to just convert it into an opportunity and continue the journey? So that's really the sales qualification agent. It's really about growing the pipeline. Oh, I was a little too fast there. The sales close agent, in terms of Dynamics, the core of that is opportunity research, opportunity management. So taking the converted leads and do even further research, do further outreach. But also, if you do transactional selling, you have the opportunity to continue that process to fully autonomous deal close. What does that mean? We have customers that has online purchasing, for example. You have the dialogue, you guide the customers to the right product, and you can say, go to this web page and purchase the product. That's really fully autonomous sales close. For many customers and really focused on relational selling, that's not exactly the scenario we'll go for, but you can still have great benefit from the opportunity research. And then after that, we have the sales research agent, which is really an experience we built ground up through AI principles to completely reimagine what business research or a business application can look like in the future. So it is a canvas. Business leaders can walk up, ask questions, automatically connected to the current instance of Dynamics 365 Sales, can connect to Dataverse, and you can just have a conversation with that data. That is, obviously, reporting visualization is something that we have had a ton of questions from customers for a long time, but this is even taking that further to actually allow exploratory research over those data sources. As a follow-up, more interesting for this audience probably, is we really think of our MCP servers as our new APIs, right? So out-of-box agents that we ship it for customers and partners to get started. But that may not be exactly where there is a need. So we always encourage customers and partners to think about where's the biggest opportunity to invoke this journey with AI. And with the MCP server, which we now extended to cover all of the capabilities available with the sales qualification agent, that means you can start embedding these agentic capabilities into your own agentic experiences without starting from scratch. And you will see us do this through all the investments we are making, really enabling that so they can be callable from anywhere. You might have heard yesterday, both in blog post and Brian Good's presentation as well, that we yesterday announced what we call the sales development agent. So what is that? That is a fully autonomous sales agent that you can hire, like you're hiring like digital labor, essentially. It is backed by Agent 365, meaning it has its own identity. It shows up in team. You can have conversations. The way you onboard it is like a regular team member. You give it content, and you have a dialogue, and you test how it do the outreach, etc. So it's very much the same as what we do with a sales qualification agent, but in this case, it is outside Dynamics 365. So for those of you using Dynamics 365 sales, you're probably going to find it super helpful to stay with or invest in the in-product experiences where sellers just show up and see their leads enriched. But if you don't have Dynamics 365 sales and still want to benefit from these agentic sales capabilities, we have the sales development agent, which works both with Dynamics but also with Salesforce. And also, we see the need for this outside, even before you qualify your leads and put them into CRM. We see many customers who doesn't want to have unqualified leads in CRM. You can use the sales development agent to do all the qualification, point them to an Excel sheet where you have had a marketing campaign, enrich them, qualify them, and then push them to CRM, whatever that system will be. So it's just another vehicle to help sellers really accelerate that pipeline generation. So if the middle part is really where we see Dynamics. It's really around transforming the processes inside CRM, transforming the application patterns, and then the workforce augmentation is where we see the sales development agent, where we kind of pull it outside the process or the application. I wanted to give a quick minute on kind of our roadmap. I will say in this world of AI, things change all the time. So you can take pictures. I'm not guaranteeing this will stick. So make that a mental note. And I say that because we learn all the time. All the time. If you look at the sales research agent, the fact that it's a multi-agent experience where we can select different models depending on what you're researching, all based on customer feedback. Customer came back and asked what I thought at the time was completely unreasonable questions, but it turned out they were not. Like, the expectations of AI change our expectations. But it meant we had to fully redefine the architecture of the product, and we did. So we learn every day, we change, we transform. These are, I would say, things we are pretty confident we will be doing because it's already work in progress, but things will change. And we really hope, as you go and engage as well, that you will help give us that feedback. What are some of the gaps? What are some of the investments we need to go do? But you can see we have a pretty solid, fast-moving roadmap from now until kind of end of March. So with that, I think it is time for us to hear how real work is done.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Julie, for sharing all these updates. We will now be joined by Sherry Marding, Digital Engagement Lead for Clients and Industries at EY, which she has 20 years experience. Thanks so much, Sherry, for joining us on stage.
Sure.
We can all take a seat.
We are sitting.
Yeah. Well,
we get to sit.
Oh, we get to sit.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're lucky, only today.
Well, I'm thinking it's probably good to start off with maybe telling you a little bit about how we got to this point where we are right now.
Yeah.
So we've recently rolled out Dynamics. We rolled out Dynamics globally across to 140 some plus countries in 18 months to 84,000 users. And we're at the point now where we're about 90,000 users. So very fast deployment. We had another CRM system running in parallel during that whole time, so we really wanted to get out of that as quickly as possible. And then, we're at that journey now where we're like, okay, what's next, right?
Yeah.
We want to get involved with the AI capabilities. We see the value that brings. And, you mentioned the, taking a look at you're looking at end-to-end across that sales process, and we're looking at that, but if you know anything about EY and where we are, we have a lot of, I'll say we work autonomously, or we have a lot of variability across process. So We don't really have inside sales teams, and everyone's kind of considered a seller. So we don't, the sales qualification agent, we kind of said right away, we're like, that's not where we're going to put our big bets initially, because that's probably, we're too immature for that right away to make that work. So we really kind of doubled down on the sales research agent and the capabilities that also sit within Outlook and Teams related to sales. So I look at that as like, we're partnering with AI, or it's my salesperson on my shoulder coming into my other contexts with me. So we have a lot of ideas around bringing sales with you where you work, or bringing kind of where you work experiences and bringing things into context.
I love that. And I think what I love about it is very often when we engage with customers, it's like, as I said before, we bring agents to market based on where we see the need. Every organization is different. And I really hope that nobody is trying to deploy AI for the sake of AI, but really look at what are your human superpowers in the organization you're working with? How do you want to transform that from spending 30% of their time on that and maybe the rest on administration? How can you change that around? What is unique for every company to go and accelerate that? And I'm curious for you, like, I also see a lot of customers, like, it's like a writer's block. It's like, gosh, where do I start? There's so much. What did you kind of face initially to say, how do we get over that hurdle?
Right. So I think for us, the hardest part probably as an organization getting started with some of the AI capabilities is, and I will say, we probably, if you think about the spectrum of an organization, there's some that are on the simple side. They have a product catalog, they have simple business process, they have very established. We're way on the other end of that spectrum of being a little more complicated and complex. So having AI learn your organization or your customer schema, your organization schema, that's probably the most challenging part of this, is really thinking, and that's just the technical side of it. And then I think on the user side of it, it's really getting people over that, like, just get started, right? I think I said this earlier in the session, it's like people say, oh gosh, I don't know how to write a prompt. And I'm like, it's really not, you're just asking a question, right? So just start to ask questions, start to query your data in a way in which you, like, what do you want to know, right? And start asking those questions, and you'll figure it out. You'll realize, like, oh, I get it. I should have said a little bit something more here and augmented my question, and that's the way you kind of get started. But yeah, I mean, that was probably, I would say, the schema part of it, and really just kind of teaching it about our organization is probably the most challenging part of all of it.
Wonderful. And Sherry, I'd love to know, so as you went around the sales transformation, what did Agentic AI change for these people, for these sellers, how they focus their time? You mentioned that a little bit. They will have to focus their time differently. What did it look like at AY? And what did it mean in terms of new skills that mattered most?
Sure. So I think, sellers, what's their challenge, right? They want to know, how do I close my deal faster? How do you take time off of my plate, right? How do I complete these tasks more quickly? And I think those are challenges that, regardless of your organization, those are challenges that all of our sellers face. I don't know what I don't know. And that's why the sales research agent, to me, is very appealing, because it really helps to go and process information in a way which you just can't process at that speed. It's not humanly possible. And if I think about accounts who don't have resources to tap into, and they're trying to figure out, what do I take to my clients? What's selling? Give me some trends that are happening with my data. That's something that really can kind of accelerate that process and really help you get to, like I said, get more time with your customers or close that deal more quickly. Those are the real changes that we're looking for. And I think, again, the seller to me is someone that looks at AI as like, this is my partner that I'm working with that's actually going to make me more effective at what I do.
Totally. Thank you so much. Did you also have one more question, Julie?
I have one. I might trip you a little bit. But I think we all go into AI having a lot of assumptions, like, this is going to be amazing, and I'm going to see results tomorrow. And there are other things, oh my gosh, it probably can't do that. I think my experience had actually flipped that around. Like, there's so many things that I thought would be so easy that it's just not happening, and the other way. Did you have some experiences like that? Definitely.
I think, like I said, about learning the schema, the part that's challenging is you think like it's that expectations, right? It's managing people's expectations about what it's going to do initially for them and kind of keeping them on that journey with you. Because you think you go ask a question like, oh, tell me my top 10 deals, right?
Yeah.
Well, how do you define top 10? Like, what do you mean? You know, what do you mean by that? And so I think that's the part of the expectation management that needs to go along with this, because I think at our firm, you know, everyone's using 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗃 Copilot. We're one of the biggest users. And so I think people have seen the value, they've seen what it's helped them to do, and they're really excited, like they're give me more, right? And so I think that they're excited to use this in the sales construct, but we also have to make sure that, you know, we want to make sure that they're getting the right answers back, and it's providing the value that it needs to provide.
That's a good point, and I think it comes back to curiosity as well. Yep. So if I ask, what's my top best performing products? What an agent might give you back, that's what happens in Sales Research Agent, will give you a result back. And it's like, hey, that was not what I thought, but you can go and see show work, and it will say, oh, these are top based on a territory, for example. Say, oh, that's not what I meant. Go, and then you get more specific and say, these are top sales based on product. So it's that curiosity and being willing to be wrong and go learn that I think is really powerful, that unlock a lot of these use cases.
And I think one maybe final point is that, you know, I know, we're talking about this, we were talking earlier about how this is going to disrupt CRM especially, right? But in a good way, right? I think the way that people work with CRM, they work with that kind of data, is going to drastically change, and we want people to come along for the ride. But I also think, you know, people don't necessarily really want to spend their time in a CRM system, and so, you know, why do they need to, right? And I think the beauty of all of this is it's really laying out that future state foundation that really kind of makes that a reality.
Yeah. No, and I think we are seeing that a lot. Using AI to fuel CRM and get the value out of CRM, not looking at CRM.
Right.
So I think that's some of the really impactful results we're seeing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right.
so much, Sherry.
Okay, you're welcome.
It was lovely having you on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. And that takes us to the last section of this presentation, where we will be having a fireside chat with our partner. And to summarize the presentation so far, so you have heard about integrating Agentic AI into the pre-sales journey for a partner, as well as into an organization's own sales transformation. So we're now welcoming our third and last partner to share how they have integrated the Agentic innovation into their framework for CRM deployments. So please help me welcome Pope Trinidad, Senior Solutions Architect at HCL Tech. Hi, Pope.
Hello.
Great to have you. And so can you share a little bit about your role, about your tenure at HCL Tech, and your experience leading these customer transformation in moments?
So I've been in the industry about 30 years, so I have a lot of experience, worked way back in the 80s when we were first initially doing expert systems and so forth. And so during my tenure, I've worked in almost every industry: banking, aerospace, Department of Defense. Had a chance to see this technology grow, and I have to admit, it's pretty exciting. I'm also a facilitator of PowerCat Kickstarters, so I get a chance to talk to a lot of different people as they're on their journey to accepting Copilot and also hackathons. So I'm very involved with those things. I'm considered one of many leaders in my company that's pushing this AI incentive.
Wonderful, thank you. And I'm curious to hear, how are these innovations that we just discussed, that Julie shared with us, how have they shaped how you position D365 sales among the many other options for your customers?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because quite honestly, I have to admit, when Microsoft came out with their, the push for Copilot, and they changed Power Virtual Agent to Copilot, and all of a sudden Copilot was in everything. And, I was a skeptic. And just for everyone's sake, I'm a delivery guy. I'm the guy, this is where the rubber meets the road. I'm the one that ends up implementing a lot of these things. So as a skeptic, I've got to tell you, everyone remembers 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗃. The whole, the 𝗬𝗲𝗀𝗃, that agent, that was everything. We had the promise of being that smart agent for us. Never really happened. But I have to admit, I'll be the first one to say it. They've really done a good job at Microsoft. Not only are you deploying Microsoft within D365 sales, and you have some really great value coming from that, but they're pushing it across the entire Microsoft suite. So you're seeing Copilot in Teams, in Office 365. It's showing up in SharePoint. It's in Power Platform, M365 Copilot. And then they back it up with these great tools like Copilot Lite, Copilot Studio, Foundry, and then even like follow that walking the walk and talking the talk with partner programs like Kickstarter, the COE, some of their programs that I'm involved with that help support pushing out this technology. So it's really cool, and it's really hard to, if you look at the other solutions out there, and you look at where your employees are right now, you're bringing basically Dynamics 365 Copilot to where they live. The other place, yes, some of the other solutions, they have their own ecosystem, and you have to work within that. You may have, F&O, you may have Dynamics 365 for customer service and field service now. And by moving over to Dynamics 365, sales with AI, you now are getting this economy of scale. You're now able to leverage, the opportunities there and realize that your opportunities just don't live inside of Dynamics. They exist in your Outlook. They exist in your transcripts, your meetings, your Word documents. And when you use AI to start, giving you a better 360 view of that, it's really powerful. And what I do love is some of these tools and the way they're going. I like what we've all talked about here earlier is that we're doing, with Copilot Lite, you're empowering users to develop their own agents for P2P stuff. Copilot Studio, low-code, no-code solutions. Yeah. And then they're deploying in all these different places, and then Foundry for really high-core stuff. So for me, it is hard to not deny the benefits of moving over to D365 sales. And as a skeptic, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I actually believe in it.
Love to see a skeptic turn fan. That's amazing. And April is joining us for more questions.
So I too am from delivery. So I would love to hear an example, or could you elaborate on a customer story where you have deployed D365 for sales in that agentic transformation? Maybe some of the business outcomes and how you kind of went about in the pre-sales frameworks.
Oh gosh. There's quite a bit out there, and it's like picking your favorite children, and especially over the last year, because everything's changed so much. You have, Power Realtor Agent. We moved to Copilot Studio, and I can list a bunch of them off. We were talking about some of the agentic agents, autonomous agentic agents that we've pushed out for some customers that allows the agent to go look at the top 10 opportunities based on dollar value, whatever they may be interested in, and then take that and using deep reasoning, not only give you information that's out on the web or internally that may relate to that opportunity in a way that salespeople can act on that, which is really cool. And then everything from some of the easy ones were SOW tape capabilities. We actually had one the other day where prior to having an agent review SOWs, we forgot to put not including tax, and then sure enough, we pushed it to England, and they have a tax that added on. Our customer was really upset about that. But one of the big things that's really been exciting for me, and I'm involved with Microsoft, is that we've been looking at this the data management data migration tool, and we're actually developing this tool that helps, and it's actually in beta right now, and hopefully you guys will be getting it soon. That helps in the transition from that other sales system, identifying all of the different entities, views, and so forth, doing the assessment, filling in the Guide 365 forms, really cool stuff. I'm just the senior lead architect for that, but I have a great team that's probably watching right now that's working really hard on getting that live. Thanks, guys. But that's really cool.
Awesome. Okay, and then we'll go to the next slide too, because I would like to hear a little bit more about these levers and how you are leveraging those today at HCL.
Yeah, and you're identifying a couple of them. The data transformation tool is really an important part, because if you guys realize that I just mentioned how the sale to move over to D365 is pretty obvious, but you have a tool like data migration transformation that helps in that, that barrier to entry and helps that customer realize moving over to this new tool, realize the ROI faster, helps reduce risk, and we've created a suite of AI agents for understanding like what are the benefits in licensing cash flow that you're going to get from moving over to that, identifying, filling in the 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗻ici𝗍𝗂 questionnaire from there. And then, everything from that on through some of the partner programs, the Kickstarter programs that not only help us on the pre-sales, getting those customers engaged and helping grow that, that grassroots enthusiasm about AI in there. We also have leveraged that at the post end as a way after the sale to help engage the rest of the organization.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pope. I think that wraps up the end of our content for today. Thank you again for joining us and sharing your experience in deploying agentic sales. We'll walk you through a few calls to action and next steps as we wrap this session. So Microsoft is offering special pricing for partners during Ignite on licenses. We're also giving free Azure credits and providing personalized technical and pre-sales support. There are 3-tiered packages you can see on the slide. So to learn more, please take a picture of this QR code. We also have highlighted the main calls to action of this session in this slide, which you will also be able to access when you download the deck. So please make sure to look at it. And talking about downloading the deck, you can do that by scanning this QR code. That will take you to the session information, including assets in this deck. So I will leave that for a few seconds so everybody can take a picture. There. And again, thank you so much for your time today and being with us to hear about agentic sales. Feel free to let us know your thoughts on this session. Sorry for that. I thought we had a last slide to let you know, to let us know your thoughts on this session. Anyway, thank you again so much. We hope you enjoy the rest of Ignite. It was wonderful having you all. Thank you.